In the world of Formula One, speed is everything. Teams spend millions of dollars to find the smallest advantage, a tiny fraction of a second that can make the difference between winning and losing. But what if a team found a way to gain a massive advantage, an advantage so big that it could change the entire championship? That's the story of Mercedes and their controversial engine trick. It all comes down to something called the compression ratio. In simple terms, the compression ratio is how much an engine squeezes the mix of fuel and air before it explodes. Think of it like a bicycle pump. The more you squeeze the air, the more pressure you build up. In an engine, more pressure means more power. For the 2026 season, the FIA, the people who make the rules for F1, decided to lower the maximum compression ratio from 18:1 down to 16:1. The idea was to make the engines less powerful and to stop teams from spending a fortune on developing ever more powerful engines. The FIA has a very specific way of measuring the compression ratio. They do it when the engine is cold and turned off. They measure the space inside the cylinder when the piston is at the very bottom and compare it to the space when the piston is at the very top. The difference between those two measurements gives you the compression ratio. It's a simple static test. But here's where Mercedes got clever. They realized that an engine doesn't stay cold. When it's running, it gets incredibly hot. And when things get hot, they expand. Mercedes engineers reportedly figured out a way to use this basic law of physics to their advantage. They designed an engine that measures a legal 16:1 when it's cold. But when it heats up on the track, the parts inside expand in a very specific way. And the compression ratio secretly climbs, possibly as high as 18:1, the old limit. How did they do it? It's a two-part trick. First, they used special metals for different parts of the engine. The connecting rods, which connect the piston to the crankshaft, are made from a type of steel that expands a lot when it gets hot. The engine block, however, is made from a different metal that expands much less. So, as the engine heats up, the connecting rods get slightly longer, pushing the piston higher into the cylinder and squeezing the fuel and air mixture even more. This alone is a clever piece of engineering. But the second part of the trick is even more controversial. It involves something called the Prechamber. This is a tiny extra pocket at the top of the cylinder that helps the fuel burn more efficiently. Mercedes allegedly designed a tiny channel connecting this Prechamber to the main combustion chamber. When the engine is cold and being tested by the FIA, this channel is open, and the extra space is counted as part of the total volume, keeping the compression ratio legal. But when the engine is running at high speed, the rapid movement of the piston effectively closes off this tiny channel. The extra pocket is sealed off, making the total space smaller and shooting the compression ratio way up. This is the part that has other teams furious, as they believe this mechanism is a deliberate attempt to cheat the static test. This isn't just a small advantage. The extra compression is believed to give Mercedes a massive power boost, somewhere between 30 and 40 horsepower. In Formula One terms, that's a lifetime. It translates to an advantage of around 3 to 4/10 of a second per lap. It's the kind of advantage that makes a car almost unbeatable. And we saw the results on the track. In the first few races of the season, the Mercedes cars, driven by George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, were in a league of their own, easily securing 1-2 finishes. Other teams were suspicious from the start. They saw the incredible speed of the Mercedes on the straights and knew something was up. They started asking questions. They put pressure on the FIA to investigate. At first, the FIA stated that they had tested the Mercedes engine and found it to be legal. But the other teams didn't give up. Led by Ferrari and Red Bull, they kept pushing, providing their own data and analysis. Finally, the pressure became too much. The FIA announced that they would be introducing a new testing procedure. Starting from June 1st, after the Monaco Grand Prix, they will also test the compression ratio when the engine is hot. This is a huge deal. It means that for the first 7 races of the season, Mercedes was able to use their trick, but from the 8th race onwards, that advantage will be gone. The new rule will allow for a small tolerance, up to 16.7:1 when hot, but it will effectively end Mercedes' massive power advantage. Mercedes, Team boss Toto Wolff has been on the defensive. He insists that his team has done nothing wrong. He claims they were in constant communication with the FIA during the engine's design and that everything they did was within the rules. He has accused the other teams of playing political games and trying to slow Mercedes down because they can't compete on the track. But the other teams see it differently. They feel betrayed. They believe Mercedes found a loophole and exploited it to gain an unfair advantage, making a mockery of the new regulations. This controversy has exposed a deep divide in Formula One. It's a battle between technical innovation and the spirit of the rules. It's a political war fought in the media and behind closed doors. And it's a story that is far from over. Even with the new test coming, the damage may already be done. Mercedes has built up a significant lead in the championship, thanks to their early season dominance. The other teams are now in a race against time to catch up. They have to develop their own engines and cars, knowing that the playing field will be level again soon. It sets up a fascinating second half of the season. Can Mercedes hold onto their lead? Or will Ferrari, Red Bull, and the others be able to close the gap and challenge for the championship? This is more than just a technical dispute. It's a story about trust, fairness, and the very nature of competition in Formula One. It shows how far teams are willing to go to win and how the FIA has to constantly adapt to keep the sport fair. The compression ratio saga will be remembered as one of the biggest controversies of the new era of Formula One, a technical masterstroke that was either a brilliant piece of engineering or a cynical manipulation of the rules, depending on who you ask. This whole situation raises a bigger question about the future of Formula One. The 2026 regulations were designed to make the sport more competitive and sustainable, but this controversy shows that even with the best intentions, it's almost impossible to close every loophole. There will always be clever engineers who find a way to push the boundaries, and there will always be team bosses who are willing to take a risk to get an edge. As we head into the next phase of the season, all eyes will be on Mercedes. How will they perform without their secret weapon? Will they be able to stay ahead of the competition, or will they fall back into the pack? It's going to be a fascinating battle, and we can't wait to see how it unfolds. This is the kind of drama that makes Formula One the greatest sport in the world. It's a high-stakes game of chess played at 200 miles per hour, and we wouldn't have it any other way. This story also shines a light on the complex relationship between the works teams and their customers. Mercedes supplies engines to several other teams on the grid, including McLaren and Williams. These teams have been put in a very difficult position. On the one hand, they benefit from having a powerful Mercedes engine in the back of their car. On the other hand, they are also competing against the Mercedes works team, and they can't help but feel that they've been kept in the dark. They've been paying for a customer engine, but they haven't been getting the same performance as the works team. It's a situation that has created a lot of tension and mistrust in the paddock. This is a story that will be talked about for years to come. It will be studied by engineering students and debated by F1 historians. It's a perfect example of the fine line between innovation and rule breaking. And it's a reminder that in Formula One, the race is not just won on the track. It's also won in the design office, in the factory, and in the corridors of power. This is the ultimate test of a team's ability to outthink, outmaneuver, and outperform the competition. And right now, Mercedes is in the fight of its life.